So I want you to think about a word right now, just a very simple word.
Okay.
And it is a word that you have probably used, thousands of times. You might have even used it this morning.
Right. It's that common.
Oh, absolutely. You use it in team meetings. You use it in casual conversations with your family. And if we are being completely honest here, you have definitely used it inside your own head.
Oh, yeah.
Like at 2 a.m. when you are just staring at the ceiling and you absolutely cannot sleep.
The worst time to be thinking about it, honestly.
Exactly. And the word is risk.
Risk.
Yeah, risk. And I am going to make you a small bet right now. I bet that you do not actually know what that word means.
That's a pretty bold bet to make with the listener right out of the gate.
I know it is.
Because people naturally assume that, because a concept is super familiar, their understanding of it is just complete.
Right, they think they've got it figured out.
Yeah, like we hear the word risk on the news, we hear it in those really fast financial disclaimers on commercials.
Oh yeah, the auctioneer voice at the end of the drug ads.
Exactly. And we hear it in the workplace all the time. So we just absorb this sort of cultural osmosis about what it actually signifies.
But this isn't just some, exercise in dictionary semantics.
No, not at all.
This structural flaw in how you understand risk is currently shaping your income right now. It is dictating your professional growth. And yes, it is directly responsible for how well you sleep at night, or, why you don't sleep at night.
Right, the 2 a.m. ceiling staring.
Exactly. So our mission today for this deep dive is ambitious, but it's actually pretty simple at its core. We are going to completely rewire how you see situations.
I love that.
And we are pulling all of our insights today from this really brilliant mini course that is part of the Critical Path audio series.
Oh, that's a fantastic series.
It really is. And the specific material we are looking at is titled, Half of What You Know About Risk is Wrong.
Catchy.
And the subtitle is, A Complete Framework for Understanding Risk the Way Professionals Do in the Time It Takes to Drive to Work.
Which is exactly why the premise of that material strikes right at the core of why so many capable, smart people just hit these invisible ceilings in their careers.
Yeah, they just get stuck.
They do. Because it takes this discipline that is usually locked away in, like dense actuarial science textbooks.
Right, or those really dry enterprise risk management seminars.
Exactly, the ones that put you to sleep.
Yeah.
And it takes all that and translates it into actual operational behavior for the individual.
Which is precisely why we designed this deep dive today for effortless clarity. Like if you are driving to work right now or if you are hitting the gym, just keep doing exactly what you were doing. You can absorb this entirely on the go.
You don't need to be sitting at a desk taking notes.
No, not at all. This single session is going to save you hours. Realistically, maybe days of slogging through complex, dry business books.
Oh, easily.
In fact, I highly recommend you just bookmark this audio right now. You are going to want to return to it several times because the framework we are going to cover, it fundamentally changes how professionals operate.
It really does. So let's unpack that initial bet you made.
Let's do it.
If you walk into a room full of executives and you just ask them, hey, define risk, every single hand goes up.
Oh, instantly. They all know it.
Or they think they do. Someone, usually an economist or maybe an insurance agent, will stand up and very confidently say, risk is uncertainty. It is something bad that might happen.
Right, the classic definition.
And they deliver that definition with total, absolute conviction because, it aligns perfectly with their lived experience.
And their professional training, too.
Right, in certain very narrow fields. It sounds completely reasonable to say that.
It feels intuitively true to say that risk equals a potential negative outcome, but the source material points out that this is only partially right.
Which is dangerous.
Exactly, because a partial understanding of a foundational concept is not just a minor gap, it's not a tiny mistake, it is a massive structural flaw.
Yeah, it's like having a cracked foundation in a house.
Exactly. When you think risk simply equals something bad that might happen, that definition actively dictates every single choice you make.
It completely narrows your vision.
It creates a massive blind spot. Which brings us to the first major unlearning we have to do today. Let's call this lie number 1.
Okay, lie number 1.
The negativity bias. How did we all end up universally associating risk solely with a threat?
Well, for that, we really have to look at the intersection of our evolutionary biology and our childhood conditioning.
Okay, break that down for me.
So from an evolutionary standpoint,
Yeah.
You have to remember that your brain is not designed to make you a successful entrepreneur.
Right.
It's not designed to make you a brilliant business strategist.
It just wants you to not die.
Exactly. Your brain is designed to keep you alive until tomorrow morning. That's it.
So it's looking for tigers.
Basically, yeah. The amygdala, which is the part of the brain that processes fear, is highly, highly attuned to potential threats.
Because if you miss a threat, you're dead.
Exactly. Missing a threat in our ancestral environment was fatal, but missing an opportunity.
You just go hungry for a day.
Right. You just miss some berries, but you're still breathing. So we are already biologically, fundamentally predisposed to overweight negative possibilities.
We are hardwired for paranoia.
We really are. And then you have to layer our modern childhood conditioning right on top of that ancient hardware.
Oh, man. Yeah, think about how we talk to kids.
Right. From the exact moment we can walk, risk is explicitly framed for us as a physical or a social danger.
Don't run near the pool, that's risky.
Exactly. Don't talk to strangers, it's too risky.
Wear your seatbelt, don't touch the hot stove.
Right. So we're literally conditioned to view the word itself as a direct synonym for harm.
So by the time we actually enter the workforce in our 20s, that neural pathway is basically set in concrete.
Cemented. You can't even separate the two concepts. But it creates a severe mismatch in the professional world.
How?
Because if you actually look at the formal academic definition, the one that is actually used in high-level project management and pure financial theory, the science says something entirely different.
Okay, what does the science say?
It says risk is simply uncertainty.
Just uncertainty.
Just uncertainty, completely neutral.
Wow. So it is not inherently bad or good.
No. It is literally just a variable that has not resolved yet.
That neutrality is probably the hardest thing for people to grasp.
It is really hard. Because it leads to a conclusion that sounds completely absurd to our conditioned, paranoid brains.
Which is?
That risk can actually be positive.
Positive risk?
Yeah.
Even saying it out loud feels like a contradiction, like jumbo shrimp.
Right.
My brain immediately just wants to reject that phrase entirely.
That's totally normal. But the critical path material uses this excellent analogy to sort of bypass that mental block.
Oh, the supermarket one?
Yes, the supermarket analogy. It is so good. So imagine you walk into a supermarket.
Okay, I'm at the grocery store.
You are just doing your normal weekly shopping. You're navigating the aisles, looking at your list, and you happen to see an item you use all the time.
Like coffee or paper towels.
Right. But you hadn't actually planned to buy it today. It wasn't on the list.
Got it.
However, it is sitting there on an end cap display, and it is discounted by 40%.
Oh, I am absolutely putting that in my cart.
Of course you are. You'd be crazy not to. But I want you to analyze the mechanics of that specific moment.
Okay.
That discount was an uncertainty.
Right. I didn't know it was going to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You did not plan for it in your budget. You had no idea it would be there when you left your house. It was a completely unknown variable.
It materialized in my favor.
Yes. It produced a positive outcome. And in the formal clinical language of professional risk management, that unknown variable is a risk.
That's wild.
We just happen to use a totally different colloquial term for that specific flavor of positive risk.
We call it an opportunity.
Exactly. We call it an opportunity.
Wait, hold on. So opportunity and risk are the exact same raw material.
They're the exact same raw material. They're just wearing different cultural masks.
That completely flips everything.
They are both simply uncertainties. The only actual difference is the direction of the outcome.
Whether the variance swings in your favor or swings against you.
That's it. That is the only difference.
Okay, if I visualize this, it changes literally everything about how I navigate a workday. Like, think about risk and opportunity as being inside the exact same physical room.
I like this visualization.
Right. So if my default childhood conditioned reflex is to view risk inherently as a threat, then the moment I sense any uncertainty at work,
Like a new project being assigned to you.
or a change in leadership, or a volatile market, my instinct is pure avoidance.
Yep.
I pull back, I stay out in the hallway, I refuse to enter the room until things are, clearer.
You are seeking safety by trying to eliminate the uncertainty.
But if opportunity and the threat live in the exact same room, and I step back into the hallway just to stay safe,
You lock yourself out.
I am locking myself completely out of the upside. I can't selectively just walk into the positive uncertainties and avoid the negative ones. They share the exact same territory.
They're packaged together.
Right. So if I wait for the lights to come on and for the room to be perfectly safe, the opportunity is already gone. Somebody else grabbed it.
Exactly. The people who consistently grow those professionals, who just seem to have this magical knack for always being in the right place at the right time, they are not reckless.
They just aren't terrified of the room.
Exactly. They understand that their job isn't to avoid the domain of uncertainty. Their job is to navigate it intelligently.
Because avoiding uncertainty is just a guaranteed path to total stagnation.
100%.
Okay, but if I accept that a random discount in a supermarket is technically a risk, my brain immediately panics in a totally different direction.
Why is that?
Because if a random discount counts as a risk, then literally every unknown variable in my day is a risk.
Ah, I see where you're going.
Am I supposed to walk around evaluating, like, the probability of a traffic jam, a power outage, the Federal Reserve changing interest rates, and, I don't know, a meteor strike all at the exact same time?
Right.
Because if risk is just neutral uncertainty, then we're basically swimming in an infinite ocean of it. It's too much.
And swinging the pendulum all the way to that other side is a very, very common reaction when people first learn this.
You just get overwhelmed.
You do.
Yeah.
You realize risk isn't just threats, so you assume everything uncertain must be analyzed and managed.
Which is impossible.
It leads to total paralysis. And this is the second great misunderstanding we really need to dismantle today. Let's call it lie number 2.
Okay, lie number 2.
Risk is not everywhere.
But how do we filter that infinite ocean of the unknown into something manageable? Because right now, my ocean is looking pretty big.
You filter it through a very rigid operational definition.
Okay, give it to me.
Risk is not just uncertainty in a vacuum. Risk is uncertainty that can impact what you are trying to achieve.
So the anchor is the goal.
The anchor is always the goal. Without a goal, you absolutely cannot have a risk.
That makes so much sense.
Let's use the hiking scenario from the course material to make this incredibly concrete.
Sure, let's do.
Let's say it is Friday night. Your plan for tomorrow morning is to hike a very challenging trail up in the mountains.
Okay, I've got my boots ready.
You check the weather forecast, and there is a 50% chance of heavy rain. Is that rain a risk?
I mean, instinctively, yes. Rain on a mountain makes the rocks really slippery. It ruins your visibility. It can cause hypothermia. It is a massive risk.
It is a risk specifically because of what you are trying to achieve.
Right. My goal is to hike the mountain safely.
Exactly. But now let's change the goal. Let's say your plan for Saturday is to just stay inside your house, order a large pizza, and binge watch a television series all day.
Sounds like a great Saturday.
It does. Now, is the rain on that mountain a risk?
No. It has absolutely zero bearing on my ability to sit on my couch and watch TV.
The weather is still an uncertainty, right?
Yeah, the weatherman could still be wrong.
The future of the weather is always fundamentally unknown, but it is no longer your risk.
Because it has no relationship to my objective.
Exactly. It is just totally irrelevant noise.
Wow. We see this failure to filter noise in the business world constantly, don't we?
Oh, every single day.
I know you advise a lot of companies. Where does this specific failure manifest the most severely?
I see a chronic condition, particularly among leaders of growth stage companies. Say businesses doing $3 to $10 million a year.
The messy middle.
Very messy. They suffer from what the source material brilliantly calls risk inflation.
Risk inflation. What does a CEO suffering from risk inflation actually look like on, say, a random Tuesday afternoon?
They are exhausted, they are incredibly scattered, and they are deeply, deeply anxious.
Because they are trying to manage the weather on a mountain, they aren't even hiking.
Exactly. They're treating every single uncertainty in the entire global ecosystem as a personal, operational risk.
Give me an example. What are they worrying about?
They are trying to mentally manage the macroeconomy, the latest supply chain disruptions in a completely different sector, the vague gossip floating around their junior staff.
Oh man, the gossip is a killer.
And they're stressing over what a competitor 3 states away might be developing in secret.
And all of those things are technically uncertainties.
Technically, yes, but they are not all risks in relation to what that specific leader actually needs to achieve in the next 90 days.
They are basically carrying the weight of the entire world when they only need to carry their own backpack up the mountain.
That's a great way to put it. And when you inflate your risk aperture that widely, you completely exhaust your cognitive resources.
Because you're managing things that were never yours to manage in the first place.
Right. And consequently, you have zero mental energy or strategic bandwidth left over for the 3 or 4 uncertainties that actually could bankrupt your company.
You miss the real threats because you're staring at the noise.
Exactly.
There is a specific phrase from the notes that hit me like a ton of bricks when I read it.
Which one?
Clarity is a risk management tool.
Yes.
We always think of goal setting as this like warm, fuzzy, motivational exercise, you know?
Yeah, you write down your goal on a whiteboard to get the sales team pumped up.
Exactly. But if risk is strictly defined as uncertainty that impacts your goal, then the very act of writing down a precise, locked-in target actually alters your reality.
It really does.
It automatically deletes half the things keeping you awake at night.
It functions as a surgical scalpel.
I love that.
Because if your goal is vague, like, say a CEO says, we want to grow revenue this year.
That's everyone's goal.
Right, but it's a terrible goal because growth is a massive, completely undefended perimeter. Almost any market fluctuation feels like a risk to that vague goal.
But if the goal is laser focused.
Say the goal is, we are going to launch product X to this specific mid-market demographic by November 1st and acquire 50 beta users.
The perimeter just shrank drastically.
Exactly. Suddenly, a massive competitor launching a totally different product to enterprise-level clients.
Yeah.
That isn't a risk anymore.
It's just rain on a mountain you aren't hiking.
It's just noise.
Bah.
The sharper the goal, the smaller and more actionable your real risk list becomes.
You literally prune away the anxiety of the unknown just by deciding exactly where you were walking.
Powerful.
It really is. Okay, so we've isolated what risk actually is. It's relevant uncertainty tied to a specific goal. But to truly master this framework, we have to look at where risk lives.
The geography of risk.
Yes, and this requires a slight philosophical detour into how human beings actually perceive time.
It's fascinating because this connects a deeply human psychological trait to pure, hard professional strategy.
Right, because human beings have a very strange relationship with the timeline of their own existence.
Very strange. We absolutely do not distribute our cognitive energy evenly across time.
We spend a massive amount of time looking backward.
Right. We mine the past for meaning. We feel nostalgic about it. We obsess over previous mistakes we made years ago.
We rate giant history books.
Exactly. The past consumes a huge portion of our mental bandwidth. And then, at the totally opposite end of the spectrum, we project endlessly into the future.
We worry about next year. We build elaborate fantasies. We dread upcoming events.
Meanwhile, the present moment, which is literally the only place where you can actually make a phone call or write a line of code or make a decision.
It's treated as a waiting room for the future.
Exactly, a waiting room. So where does risk actually map onto that timeline?
It only exists in the future, right?
Always. Risk only exists in the future.
Because the past is completely fixed.
Right. It cannot be uncertain because it is already resolved. There is zero risk in the past. There is only a permanent record.
Okay, so if risk lives entirely in the future, what happens when the future finally arrives?
Walk me through a scenario.
Let's say I'm terrified my company servers are going to crash on our big launch day.
Okay.
Launch day arrives. The servers actually crash. Is that a risk?
No.
Wait, really? Even while they are actively crashing?
The absolute instant the server crashes, the risk evaporates. It is materialized. It is no longer an uncertainty. It is a cold, hard fact.
It happened.
Right. In professional terminology, it has crossed the threshold from a risk into an issue.
A risk is a possibility, but an issue is a reality.
Exactly. And the toolkits for managing them are fundamentally different.
How so?
Well, you manage risks with whiteboards, with contingency plans, with calm, strategic thinking.
And issues.
You resolve issues with crisis communication, technical patches, and immediate sweaty action.
Because risk lives entirely ahead of you in the timeline, thinking about risk is, by definition, an exercise in thinking about the future.
Right. And as we've established, humans hate the unknown future.
It triggers that ancient amygdala response again.
It does. We intensely crave certainty.
And that visceral craving, that desperate need to know what happens next, is the foundation for entire global industries built around the illusion of prediction.
It's wild how much money is spent on prediction. We just want anyone, to look into the fog and tell us exactly what shape is emerging.
We see this literally everywhere. It's not just, fortune tellers reading tea leaves in a tent.
No, it's highly paid, credentialed professionals.
Right. It is financial analysts in nice suits on television confidently telling you exactly what the S&P 500 is going to do next Tuesday.
Or political pundits predicting the exact electoral map 12 months in advance.
And it is all an illusion.
It's a complete illusion. Prediction, especially in complex systems like markets or politics, is mathematically impossible.
So anyone selling you a solid prediction is...
They are either profoundly naive or they are running a scam.
Those are strong words.
but they're true. And this is the really critical pivot in the critical path curriculum. While you absolutely cannot predict the future, you can prepare for it.
Wait, hold on. I want to challenge that distinction for a second.
Okay, challenge it.
Because you were telling me prediction is a scam, but then in the next breath telling me I need to prepare for the future.
Isn't preparation just a more socially acceptable, fancier word for guessing?
How do you mean?
Like if I pack an umbrella in my briefcase in the morning, I am essentially predicting it will rain later, right?
Yeah.
How is that actually any different?
It is a vital distinction, and it lies entirely in the mechanics of the response.
Okay, explain the mechanics.
Prediction stakes your entire success on one single specific outcome.
Right.
A prediction says, it will rain tomorrow at 2 p.m., so I will wear my heavy raincoat out the door.
And if it doesn't rain?
If it is 90 degrees and sunny, your prediction failed, and you are sweating to death in a heavy raincoat. You are completely maladapted to reality.
You bet your money on one horse and that horse lost.
Exactly. Preparation does not bet on the horse.
So what does preparation do?
Preparation says, I have absolutely no idea if it will rain tomorrow. It is a highly complex meteorological system that I cannot control.
Right.
However, rain is a relevant uncertainty that would heavily impact my goal of staying dry on my way to my meeting.
So you prepare. Therefore, if it rains, then I will deploy the umbrella I packed in my bag.
Preparation is building an if-then algorithm.
Exactly. It is building conditional responses well in advance.
That makes total sense.
You sit down, you identify the most impactful possibilities, both the positive and negative ones, and you actively decide on your operational response before the emotion hits.
Before the adrenaline and the chaos of the actual moment blind you.
Right. Preparation doesn't require a crystal ball. It requires clear, rational thinking in the present moment.
Prediction is magical thinking. Preparation is scientific.
Precisely.
Okay, so if we are doing the hard work of stepping into that uncertain future, if we are packing our umbrellas and willingly walking into that dark room where both opportunity and threat live, we need to talk about compensation.
The fun part.
Yeah, because why subject ourselves to this discomfort? We have to talk about reward, and the material makes a really fascinating claim here.
Yes, about income and risk.
It says that your current income, your current level of success in life, is perfectly matched to your current risk tolerance.
It is a structural law of complex systems. Reward is proportional to risk. You simply cannot decouple them.
Let's look at the financial example used in the course, just to ground this.
Sure.
Say there is a high-growth, highly volatile asset, a crazy tech stock or something.
Okay.
I invest $1 million. You invest $10 million.
Right.
If the asset doubles in value, I make $1 million, but you make $10 million.
And the flip side.
If the company goes bankrupt tomorrow and the asset goes to absolute zero, I lose $1 million, you lose $10 million.
Right. The exposure and the upside move in absolute lockstep.
Most people easily grasp that mathematical reality when it comes to capital markets and investing. It's just obvious math.
It is. But they completely fail to apply that exact same physics to their actual careers.
Or their salary negotiations.
Or their personal growth. The ceiling on your professional results right now, today, is the exact ceiling of your physical tolerance for uncertainty.
That is a very, very uncomfortable mirror to hold up to people.
Oh, people hate hearing it.
Because a lot of ambitious people like to tell themselves these elaborate narratives to explain why they are plateaued.
What kind of narratives?
You know, I'm just waiting for the right opportunity to come along.
Right. Or, my boss just doesn't recognize my true talent.
Or, the macroeconomic climate is just way too tough for my startup to get funding right now.
But the reality is usually much more internal. People generally don't stagnate because they actually lack skill.
Why do they stagnate?
They stagnate because standing at the edge of the unknown induces genuine, visceral, physical anxiety.
It feels like standing on the edge of a literal cliff.
Yes. Your heart rate elevates. Your palms sweat. Your mind just races with all these worst-case scenarios.
So what is the natural human response to that feeling?
You step back from the edge. You retreat back into what is known, what is documented, what is comfortable and safe.
And then you wonder why you were in the exact same cubicle making the exact same salary 5 years later.
You actively refused to carry the uncertainty required to access the next tier of reward.
Man. But the cliff edge isn't the same height for everyone, is it?
No, it is not.
The source material makes a huge point about how risk is highly subjective.
It is entirely subjective. And honestly, this subjectivity is the real secret to exceptional compensation.
Explain that. Because we usually assume risk is this objective physical property of the universe, like gravity.
Right, like it's a fixed law.
Mm.
But it isn't. Let's use the surgeon analogy from the audio.
Okay, I love this one.
Imagine walking into a brightly lit operating theater right now. There is a patient lying on the table, heart monitor beeping.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Someone hands you a sharp scalpel and tells you, all right, step up and perform a complex quadruple heart bypass right now.
My heart rate is spiking just imagining that.
Exactly. For you, that is a catastrophic, apocalyptic risk.
I would guarantee a 100% failure rate. The patient would die immediately. It would be an absolute disaster.
The risk is astronomical for you. But what about the veteran cardiovascular surgeon standing right next to you who has performed this exact procedure 400 times?
For them, it's just a regular Tuesday morning.
It is entirely routine. They are literally thinking about where they are going to get lunch while they're operating on a human heart.
But wait, the objective stakes are completely identical.
Yes.
There is still a fragile human life on the table. The domain is exactly the same.
The domain is the same, but the personal exposure is radically different. The surgeon has spent 4 years in medical school, another 6 brutal years in residency, and probably a decade in specialized fellowships.
They put in the reps?
They have trained, rehearsed, studied the anatomy, and built very specific, granular capabilities to carry that exact physical uncertainty.
So to the patient, the risk of their own heart failing is enormous.
Which is exactly why they're willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars to offload that risk to someone else.
And to the surgeon, the risk has been systematically lowered through training. This completely reframes how I view highly paid professions.
Doesn't it?
Like exceptional compensation, whether it's a massive executive salary or lucrative business profits or a huge equity stake in a startup. It lives entirely in that gap.
It lives in the arbitrage.
Right. The arbitrage between the market's high perception of risk and your highly trained, lowered personal exposure to it.
That is the absolute alchemy of professional success. You are paid to handle uncertainties that terrify normal people.
You train in private, you build all these robust systems in private so that you can carry massive risks in public without even breaking a sweat.
Because if your job is entirely certain, completely predictable, and involves absolutely zero unknown variables...
you will be paid the bare minimum market rate.
Exactly, because literally anyone off the street can do it.
So to really understand how our society monetizes this gap between perceived risk and actual exposure, we should probably look at 2 of the oldest, most massive industries in the world.
They are a perfect case study for this.
Right. They are both built entirely on the raw material of uncertainty, but they take the exact opposite approach to handling it.
This is the brilliant dichotomy to explore because it forces the listener to actually look at their own default behavior.
Let's analyze the insurance industry first.
Okay, insurance is one of the most robust, wealthy, and enduring business models human beings have ever conceived.
The buildings downtown with their names on them are very tall.
Very tall. And the brilliant part is, they do not manufacture a physical product. They don't build cars or phones.
They manufacture peace of mind.
Yes. The product is the transfer of risk.
They are quite literally selling certainty in a box.
Think about the origins of modern insurance, like with Lloyd's of London back in the 17th century.
Right, the shipping merchants.
Exactly. Merchants were sending these fragile wooden ships across the ocean. And the ocean is a massive, terrifying domain of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. You've got storms, pirates, scurvy, disease.
So if a merchant sent their one single ship out and it sank?
That merchant was personally ruined, destitute. They would literally end up in debtor's prison. The uncertainty was simply too high for one single person to carry alone.
So what did they do? They pooled the risk.
They pooled it. A bunch of merchants would pay a premium to a syndicate. The syndicate absorbs the collective risk. If one ship sinks, the syndicate pays for the loss out of the pool.
No one goes to debtor's prison.
Right. Now, fast forward to today. You buy a brand new car, and you are terrified of the uncertainty of an accident destroying your expensive new asset.
I do not want to carry that financial exposure. A total loss would ruin my year.
So you pay an auto insurance company a monthly premium, and if nothing bad happens all year, you don't get your money back at the end of December.
And I don't feel cheated either.
Because you didn't buy a return on investment.
I bought the certainty that I wouldn't be financially ruined in a worst-case scenario. I paid cash to offload the uncertainty.
Exactly. Now, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, sitting right across the table from insurance, is the gambling industry.
Casinos, sports betting, iGaming.
If insurance is the business of eliminating exposure to uncertainty, gambling is the business of intentionally, aggressively seeking it out.
Right. When someone walks into a flashy casino and puts $1,000 on black at the roulette table,
They are literally paying to maximize their personal exposure to a completely unknown outcome.
because the entire point is the adrenaline rush of the potential upside. They want the volatility.
If they knew exactly what the roulette wheel was going to do before it spun, no one would play the game. It would be boring.
So we have these two ancient multi-billion-dollar human impulses, offloading risk for safety or absorbing risk for upside.
Right.
Why is this historical detour actually relevant to the listener who is just trying to build a better career?
Because almost everyone listening to this right now sits somewhere in the mushy middle of that spectrum. We are very complex creatures.
Yeah, we are walking contradictions.
We all insure our homes, but we might gamble on a risking tech stock on Robinhood.
We seek total safety in our daily health habits, but we might take a wild, unpredictable vacation.
Exactly. The vital, operative question for a professional is, have you made a conscious choice about where you sit on that spectrum in your specific career? Or are you just drifting?
Oh, drifting is so dangerous. And it is very easy to default to the insurance mindset without even realizing you're doing it.
It is the most common default. I see incredibly talented, brilliant people default to the insurance mindset all the time.
Seeking pure safety.
Right. Staying in the comfortable job way too long, avoiding the hard conversation with their boss, overanalyzing the new product launch until the window closes and the project dies.
And they do this in a career phase where they actually need to be acting like a venture capitalist.
Yes, they need to be leaning hard into the uncertainty to access the massive rewards they claim they want.
You cannot get venture capital returns with a whole life insurance mindset.
That is the perfect way to summarize it. You have to consciously choose your posture. Am I offloading right now, or am I absorbing?
Okay, but understanding all of this theory, that risk is neutral, that it's tied to our goals, that it's subjective, that we have to choose our posture. That is all great philosophy.
It is.
It's a fascinating conversation. But how do we actually operationalize it on Monday morning?
Right. How do we get out of the clouds?
Yeah, how do we move from this intuitive, reactive scrambling to a cold, professional, proactive system?
Because philosophy without a functional framework is really just entertainment.
Exactly. We want to actually change outcomes. We need a repeatable methodology.
And the Critical Path material provides exactly that. It's essentially a 20-minute masterclass packed into a 6-step framework.
A 6-step framework to shift your entire operational reality regarding the unknown.
Yes.
I want to spend a really significant amount of time right here because this is the absolute core utility of this deep dive.
Let's do it.
If you are listening to this right now, I want you to mentally lock these 6 steps in. Let's not just list them. Let's actually pressure test them. Let's build a hypothetical scenario and run it through.
That is the best way to demonstrate the mechanics. Give me a goal.
Okay, let's say I am the founder of a mid-sized marketing agency.
Okay.
My goal is to acquire a smaller boutique rival agency in a completely different city to expand our geographical footprint. And I want to close this acquisition within the next 6 months.
Perfect. High stakes, clear timeline, plenty of room for uncertainty.
Plenty of room to fail.
Right. So step 1 of the framework is the foundation we've already laid out. Know the definition.
Okay, remind me.
Before you do literally anything else, you sit down with yourself and your leadership team, and you remind everyone that risk is simply uncertainty that impacts the goal.
Right.
You establish the ground rules. You say, we're not going to panic about the global economy today. We're only going to focus on the uncertainties relevant to buying this specific agency.
Okay, we've set the boundary.
Step 2 is goal clarity. Now, we just defined it, but the material heavily emphasizes that vague goals produce vague risk management.
Because if my goal was just, hey team, let's expand the business, the risk profile is infinite.
Exactly. By defining it as acquire agency X in city Y within 6 months for under $2 million, you have built a very specific, tight box.
And everything outside that box can be safely ignored.
Now we get to the real heavy lifting. Step 3. Generate the list.
The brainstorming phase.
Yes. You need to figure out what uncertainties actually exist inside that box you just drew, what could go horribly wrong, and what could go surprisingly right.
Historically, this is where teams just sit in a sterile conference room, staring blankly at a whiteboard, suffering from terrible groupthink.
Brainstorming risks is notoriously difficult for humans because of our inherent cognitive blind spots.
We are way too optimistic about our own brilliant plans.
We are. But the course suggests a really brilliant modern hack for this. You use an AI as a sparring partner.
I love this hack. Tell them how it works.
You open up your preferred AI tool, whatever you use, and you give it a very specific prompt.
Like what?
You type, "I am trying to acquire a boutique marketing agency in 6 months for under $2 million. Give me the top 15 negative outcomes that could derail this acquisition and the top 15 positive uncertainties that could accelerate it or make it much more profitable."
And within 30 seconds, the AI is going to spit out mind spots you hadn't even considered.
Exactly. It doesn't have your emotional bias.
Yeah.
It might suggest, hey, the rival agency's top 3 clients have escape clauses in their contracts that trigger upon a change of ownership.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have thought of that until due diligence.
Exactly. That's a phenomenal use of technology. It breaks you right out of the blank page syndrome.
Okay, so now I have a raw list of 30 uncertainties from the AI. Some are massive existential threats, and some are just trivial annoyances.
Which brings us directly to step 4, where we bring order to that chaos. Rate them.
Because we have to prioritize. I can't actively manage 30 variables every day. I'd go crazy.
The framework uses a very simple matrix of probability and impact.
How likely is it to happen, and how badly does it affect the goal if it actually does?
Keep the math incredibly simple here. Do not build complex, weighted, algorithmic spreadsheets. Just use a scale of 1 to 3 for both.
Okay, so probability, 1 is low, 2 is medium, 3 is high.
Exactly. And impact. 1 is a bump in the road, 2 is significant damage, 3 is catastrophic failure of the goal.
And then I just multiply probability by impact to get a severity score.
That's it. Simple multiplication.
Now, let me push back on this simplicity for a second, because I know what some listeners are thinking.
Push back.
Let's look at a true black swan event.
Okay.
Say a global pandemic hits, or their rival agency's founder is suddenly indicted for massive federal tax fraud.
Dramatic, but it happens.
The probability of that tax fraud is very, very low. It's a 1. But the impact is absolute destruction of the entire deal. So that's a 3.
Right.
So 1 times 3 is a severity score of 3. Meanwhile, a highly probable annoyance, like, say, the lawyer's taking an extra week to review a draft document. The probability is a 3. The impact is a 1.
3 times 1 is 3.
Right. They both get a score of 3. Are you really telling me a minor legal delay and federal tax fraud are equivalent risks that I should treat exactly the same?
That is an excellent pushback, and it highlights the specific limitation of any simple matrix system.
Okay, so the system is flawed.
No, it's just built for a specific purpose. A 1 to 3 matrix is absolutely not designed to predict or manage black swans.
Why not?
Because you cannot operationally manage a low probability catastrophic event through a daily risk register.
Oh.
It's too rare.
Yeah.
You manage extreme tail risks through broad systemic resilience, which we will actually discuss when we get to the portfolio management section.
Oh, okay.
The matrix is specifically designed to force you to identify the high probability, high impact killers, the 3x3s, the score of 9.
The stuff that is highly likely to happen and will ruin your day when it does?
Exactly. You filter out the noise of the 3s and 4s, and you focus your active daily management strictly on the top 3 to 5 highest scoring risks.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say our AI generated a score of 9 for this specific risk. During due diligence, we discover their profit margins are heavily reliant on one single massive client who has no long-term contract.
Oof. Very high probability it might be true in an agency, and massive impact if it is.
We have isolated our top risk. Now we hit step 5. Build the response.
And this is where you actually earn your money as a leader.
Because identifying the risk is just passive observation.
Exactly. Building the response is active strategy. And the framework gives you 4 specific levers you can pull here.
Reduce, avoid, transfer, or accept.
Right. Let's apply those levers to our single client concentration risk. How would you reduce this risk?
Well, reducing means taking proactive actions to lower either the probability of the event occurring or the impact if it actually does. I can't really change their past business model to reduce the probability.
Yeah. No, you can't. But you can reduce the impact on your company.
Yeah.
You could structure the acquisition deal with an earnout provision.
Financial structuring.
Right. You go to the seller and say, we will buy the agency, but 30% of the purchase price is held in escrow, and it is only paid out to you if that massive client stays for 12 months post-acquisition.
Wow. So I haven't eliminated the uncertainty of the client leaving. They still might leave.
But you have drastically reduced the financial impact on your own company if they do leave. You won't overpay for an empty shell.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, what about transferring? How is that lever different from reducing?
Transferring means moving the actual financial or operational burden of the uncertainty completely onto a third party.
We talked about insurance earlier.
Exactly. In M&A deals, there's literally a specific product called representations and warranties insurance.
Oh, I've heard of that.
You buy a policy that says if the seller lied about their financials, or if they lied about how secure that client contract is, the insurance company covers the financial loss, not you.
So you transferred the risk entirely off your balance sheet and onto theirs.
For a fee, yes.
And what if we look at the avoid lever?
Avoiding a risk usually requires changing the fundamental parameters of the goal itself.
So if the single client concentration is just too terrifying,
and you can't afford to reduce it or transfer it,
I just avoid it by walking away from the deal entirely.
right, you change the goal to acquiring a totally different agency. You walk out of the room.
Which leaves the final lever, accept, which honestly sounds a lot like just doing nothing and crossing your fingers.
It looks like doing nothing to an outside observer.
Right.
But internally, it is a profound, active, strategic choice.
Why?
Because accept means you have done the math. You have analyzed the risk. You realize it would be way too expensive to reduce or transfer. You refuse to avoid it because the potential upside is huge, and you consciously decide that the upside of the acquisition is worth carrying that exposure yourself.
Conscious acceptance is a valid, powerful strategy.
Well, unconscious ignorance is just a liability.
You have to own the risk.
You do.
Okay, so we've built our response. Let's say we decided to reduce the impact with an earn-out clause.
Good choice.
The final piece of the 20-minute masterclass is step 6. Monitor triggers.
Because a brilliant response plan is totally useless if it just sits in a desk drawer gathering dust.
Risks rarely materialize out of a completely clear blue sky, do they?
Almost never. They send signals. The physics of the real-world demand that cause always precedes effect.
Like before a huge thunderstorm hits, the barometric pressure drops.
The wind shifts, the clouds get visibly darker, there are signs.
And in business, before a key client fires you, they usually don't just wake up one random morning and send an angry combination email.
No, there are leading indicators, always.
They stop returning calls as quickly.
Or they complain loudly about a really minor billing issue.
Or their marketing director updates their LinkedIn profile to open to work.
Exactly. Your job in step 6 is to define what those early warning signs, those triggers are going to be in advance.
So for our M&A scenario, a trigger might be...
It might be. If their founder cancels more than 2 due diligence meetings in a row, or if they refuse to provide the raw data on client retention within 48 hours of our formal request.
You literally draw a tripwire.
You draw a very clear, highly visible tripwire. And when you see that tripwire actually crossed in real life,
what do? You
do not debate it. You do not hold a 2-hour committee meeting to discuss your complex feelings about the delay.
Yeah.
You immediately, mechanically deploy the response you built in step 5.
You pop the umbrella before the first drop of rain actually hits your head.
That is the essence of proactive professional risk management. It is cold, it is calculated, and it is incredibly effective.
Okay. That 6-step framework definition, goal clarity, list generation, rating, response building, and trigger monitoring it is an absolute superpower when you apply it to a single contained project like an acquisition.
It changes everything.
But let's zoom out for a minute, because nobody listening to this deep dive right now has just one single goal operating in a vacuum.
No, human life is not a single project timeline.
It is a massive, overlapping, totally chaotic ecosystem.
It is deeply complex. You have your professional goals, yes, but running totally parallel to those, you have your physical health, your personal finances, your marriage, your relationships with your kids, your team dynamics at the office.
And every single one of those domains has its own goals and its own unique set of uncertainties.
Exactly.
So how do we possibly manage the matrix of all that? Because if I try to run the 6-step framework individually on 50 different goals every morning, I am just going to drown in paperwork.
This is where we graduate to what professionals call portfolio-level risk management.
Portfolio level. Okay.
It is taking the micromechanics we just discussed and applying a broad macro lens across all the domains of your existence at once.
How does that work in practice?
Well, the core principle of portfolio theory is that risks in different domains do not stay neatly in their little silos.
They bleed.
They bleed heavily into one another. When you map your exposure across all these areas, you almost always reveal these hidden, highly dangerous concentrations of risk.
What does a hidden concentration look like in real life for, say, a normal person?
Let's take a highly driven, ambitious entrepreneur.
Okay.
They are hyper-focused on the business domain. They run the 6-step framework religiously on their new product launch. They have contingency plans for supply chain failures, marketing flops, and server crashes.
They feel totally bulletproof.
Exactly. But because they are pouring 100% of their cognitive energy into the business silo, they have completely neglected the personal health domain and the team dynamic domain.
Oh, I see where this is going. They aren't sleeping.
They are sleeping 4 hours a night, eating junk food, and they are snapping aggressively at their employees because they're stressed.
And when you look at the portfolio view,
You realize there is a catastrophic systemic vulnerability.
because if the entrepreneur's health absolutely fails due to a heart attack from chronic stress,
Or if their lead operations manager finally just quits on a Tuesday due to toxic burnout.
it does not matter how good the supply chain contingency plan is.
Not at all. The failure in the health or the team domain will cascade violently across the boundary and take down the product launch anyway.
It is the ultimate domino effect. You reinforced the front door of the fortress with steel, but you left the back gate wide open.
Exactly. The goal of the portfolio view is not to become some paranoid hermit, hiding from the world in a bunker to achieve zero total risk.
Because that's impossible.
The goal is to intelligently de-risk your baseline existence, securing your health, your core relationships, your emergency finances, so that you can safely carry significantly more upside risk in the areas that actually drive exceptional reward.
Like your business or your aggressive investments.
Right. You build a stable, boring foundation so you can swing the bat much harder when it counts.
And if you don't do this, if you just ignore the 6-step framework, if you ignore the portfolio view and you just blindly drift through the uncertainty,
You end up caught in a very predictable, very painful pattern.
the source material maps this out so perfectly. It is called the life cycle of a disaster.
I love this section.
I want to trace this out step by step because when you hear it, it is chillingly accurate. It applies to Fortune 500 corporate bankruptcies and personal career implosions exactly alike.
It is a universal pattern. The physics of failure are remarkably consistent.
It starts at phase 1, uncertainty,
The uncertainty phase is just the whisper.
the whisper.
The event has not happened yet, but the mere possibility of it is visible way out on the horizon.
And this is the absolute cheapest, easiest, and most effective time to intervene, right?
By far. It takes maybe 20 minutes of focused thought on a whiteboard, or a quick 5-minute phone call, or a tiny adjustment to a legal contract to build a response.
The cost of intervention here is near zero.
But human nature intervenes instead. We are busy, we are distracted by the present moment. We do not like looking at negative possibilities because it triggers our amygdala.
We literally tell ourselves we're being pessimistic if we plan for failure.
So we ignore the whisper,
Yeah.
and because we ignore it, the situation naturally drifts into phase 2, the issue.
Oh boy. The risk has now materialized.
The timeline has caught up to the future. It's no longer a maybe. It is a burning fire on your actual desk.
The critical shift here is that you have completely lost the power of prevention.
You are no longer managing a theoretical risk. You are managing brutal, real-world consequences.
And the cost of intervention has just absolutely skyrocketed.
It takes days of time, it requires actual hard capital to fix, and it generates massive physiological stress for everyone involved.
You are basically frantically patching the hull while the ship is actively taking on water.
Yes. And if you bungle the issue management, if your patch doesn't hold, the situation mutates into phase 3, escalation.
Escalation is terrifying.
At the escalation phase, the blast radius of the event has officially expanded beyond your immediate local control.
A key client has found out about the failure and is furious.
Or the board of directors is demanding answers right now. Regulators or corporate lawyers are suddenly involved.
The pressure is immense, the public scrutiny is super high, and your available strategic options have narrowed dramatically.
You are absolutely no longer steering the ship. The storm is steering you.
And finally, if the escalation isn't contained, which it often isn't, we hit the terminal stage. Phase 4, disaster.
The disaster phase is when structural damage becomes completely permanent.
The reputation is irrevocably ruined.
The company files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The marriage ends in divorce, or the career is completely, permanently derailed.
There is no managing a disaster. There is only surviving it and desperately picking up the pieces.
Which brings us to a really profound, almost tragic observation highlighted in the source material.
This part really stuck with me.
We all know organizations or individuals who are just always firefighting.
Oh yeah, constantly. They are perpetually jumping from one existential crisis to the next, surviving by the absolute skin of their teeth.
And we look at them and we think, Man, they just have the absolute worst luck in the world.
But what looks like bad luck from the outside
Is almost always just totally unmanaged uncertainty that was completely visible months ago.
It is a harsh truth. Every massive, roaring fire you have ever had to personally fight in your professional life, every all-nighter, every panicked weekend, every lost client,
It was once a small, entirely manageable spark of uncertainty in phase 1.
it could have been handled quietly with a 20-minute conversation.
The entire discipline of professional risk management is simply the art of handling things while they are still small, cheap, and theoretical.
Wow. Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started with a bet that you didn't know what risk really meant, and I think we can confidently say we've delivered on the promise to totally rewire that perspective.
I hope so.
You now know that risk is not a synonym for danger. It is simply neutral uncertainty. You know it does not exist in a vacuum. It is tied entirely to your specific written goals.
And you understand that exceptional reward actively requires stepping into that dark room of uncertainty.
And that your capacity to do so is a trainable muscle. It's not a fixed genetic trait you're just born with.
You understand the distinct difference between the impossible scam of prediction and the scientific rigor of preparation.
And most importantly, you are armed with the 6-step framework to actually apply it on Monday morning. Definition, goal clarity, list generation, rating, building responses, and monitoring those triggers.
Exactly.
So here is your call to action. I want to highly urge you to take the 20-minute challenge today.
Don't wait on this.
Don't let this just be interesting, entertaining audio you consumed on your commute and then forgot about. Pick one goal you are actively working on right now.
Run it through those 6 steps.
Use an AI to help you generate the list of blind spots. Rate the risks, build a response, and define the triggers. Doing this just once will give you an immediate, visceral sense of total clarity.
The fog will visibly lift.
Doing it consistently every week is the ultimate professional habit that truly separates the elite from the stressed-out middle of the pack.
And if you want to go far beyond just the theory, if you want to move from just understanding this conceptually to deeply integrating it into the actual high-stakes architecture of your business, you should seriously consider the ongoing weekly coaching that forms the backbone of the Critical Path curriculum.
It's highly recommended.
Because that environment is where you take these frameworks out of the hypothetical vacuum and actually spar with them against the real-world complexities of your specific career, alongside other sharp professionals who are doing the exact same thing.
It really is the difference between reading a book about swimming mechanics and actually getting in the pool with an Olympic coach correcting your stroke in real time. It is well worth exploring.
Highly worth it.
But for now, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Just something for you to mull over as you finish your drive or wrap up your workout today.
What's the thought?
We spent a lot of time talking about how risk is entirely subjective and how your capacity to handle it can be actively trained to lower your personal exposure. So I want you to look very closely at your life right now. What massive, potentially life-changing opportunity? Maybe it's a huge career pivot, a difficult conversation with a partner, or a brand new venture are you currently viewing as a catastrophic threat, simply because you haven't put in the 20 minutes of systematic training to prepare for it?
That is a great question.
Next time you're staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., I truly hope that is the question keeping you awake. Until next time.